So we stopped at creating objects using the class, which is the number 6 ways that we can create an object. So is there any question from the last class? I will take silence to be no. So I move forward. Object properties. As we all know that an object is a key value pair. So this is the key, this is the value. The key is also called the property. So in this object called the smartphone, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 properties. And you can also nest an object inside another object. For example, this camera is an object itself, and it is right within the smartphone object. So that is all about the property and value. So we can have different types, primitive, object property, and so on and so forth. But most of the time, the kind of key here is always string in nature. But we can also have what is called the symbol. We are not going into that for now because that is above your knowledge base for now. So always have it in your mind that an object is a key and value pair. And we have treated in the past how we can minimize this one, how we can what's it called, access and the values of objects. So let's say this is an object, as we are all aware of that fact. So if I want to access print out Bob, there are 2 ways. If I say console.log, I'm going to call this object dot. I'm going to use the dot notation. We have treated this in the past. So just take this as a review. Then the value will be printed out. But if I do not use the dot notation, I can use the square bracket as well to access the same thing. Let me use laptop this time around. And that laptop will now return an object because it is an object. Hmm? This should not be. It should return me. Let me see. This is strange. Hmm. It should return me that value. I don't know why it is not returning that value here, but it should return. Hold on, let me go back. Where is that? Accessing. This one is definition, definition, definition. Am I making any mistake somewhere? Let me see. Dot notation and bracket notation. Uh-huh. Exactly. It should return. I don't know why that is not giving me the desired goal. But let me see something. Maybe it is this console.log. Fetch this. Let me copy this out and see. This, okay, is not. Okay, I'm going to find out why this is not, because it should. This should return. Let me see. Dot. Let me use the dot again. Yes, this one is returning. Okay, hold on. See, that is returning into let me create a variable and see what it should print out. Then console.log f. Oh, okay. Let me clear false. Okay, this one is not yielding anything. Let me see. Dot name. Okay. So I will find out why that is not working. Oh, okay. Now I think I remember. I'm passing it as a variable. It should be in quotes. Let me see. It should be in quotes, because if I put just name like that, aha, yes. So that is the problem, because I know it should work. So if I remove that again and I paste it here, so I can easily remove this one. Now, can you see my line of thought, right? You need to learn how to troubleshoot things, right? So you can see now it's printing it out. So I can do likewise for this. And it's going to return that object. So now, without this quote, right, is it is like I'm treating this as a variable, whereas it is not a variable. It is a key and a string type key, right? So I need to put it inside a quote. I hope it is clear. So I move on. Let me go back to where I stopped. Properties. Aha, yeah. So I move on. Now, we can also have function. We have done that so many times. Function, and you can use the counter to call that function by saying counter dot increment. Then this function will now be called. If you want, although we have demonstrated this times without number, but it will not stop us from doing that again and again. So we have counter dot the increment, and we know it's a function, so we need to call it by including that bracket. So, and it will, once we call, what is the function doing? The function is increasing this count from 0 to 1. So if I now print, let me print the count before and after. So counter, before we call the function, and then after we must have called the function. So let's see before and after. Oh, I need to print it. Console.log, then bracket there. Just copy this and paste in there. So I have 0, which is the initial value of it. I call this function. This function increases by 1, and then I print out, which is 1. If I run this 2 times, you should have 0, then 2. Is there any question? No question. So we are aware of the two ways to access object properties: the dot notation, the bracket notation. So this here, there's an error here. It should be in a quote. Yes, like so. So I move on. Oh, what's going on? Okay. So now we can also add properties. Let's say I have, let me come back to, let me copy this object again. Smartphone, I thought I saw one, this one. If I copy, I want to save myself in typing. So go to to the compiler. Now, already I have an object called smartphone. I can decide to add another object to this. And I want to add the color midnight. So if I copy, okay, let me just copy everything. I'm adding that, then I can now print. So I have in here, I'm adding another key to this by specifying this name of the object and the core and the key, which is the color, and I'm assigning a value to that key. Similarly, operating system, I'm assigning the iOS 15 value to it. Then I can decide to print any property of my choice. But since I just added this, let us print out the color. So midnight is printed out. You can print out the brand if you so desire. So, and you can print out the storage size if you so desire, and so on and so forth. So that is addition. Now you can modify. Modify is maybe you want to change. Initially, probably the model is iPhone 13. I can decide to change it here. Smartphone dot model. I say Samsung S21. So if I decide to print the model out, this model, this one here, the key, you will see that the value has changed to Samsung S21. Is there any question? Is there any question?
No, sir.
No. Okay. So now, yes, you can also use the delete to remove a key, right? So you use the delete keyword to do that. Now, if you want to loop through, the loop, you use the for in. Now, if you remember way back, we treated, let me remove all these ones, the for rough and the for in. Is there anyone who does not remember this?
No, sir.
Good. So now the for of is used, right, to iterate over iterables. I'm using the word again. What does iterable mean? It simply means um, a collection, a collection of data that can whose okay, let me use the word whose item can be let me say can be um, run through one after the other, right? For example, if you have an array, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, for example. So what the for of loop, because this is an iterable object. Iterable means I can, where's my pen? Iterable means I can move from one item to the next, right? To the next. At the back end, a method called next is being called. I'm not going into this one at this stage. At the back end, so what is happening is that the moment the first one is called, after that, the next method is called, which will now push the pointer to this. Next, the pointer will go this. Next, the pointer will come to that. Next, the pointer will come to that. And the pointer knows that, yes, this is the end of the data. Automatically, it will now stop the iteration. So now if you want to go iterate this, you can use the for of, let me just comment this so that it won't affect my work. For of, let me say num, let num of this array. So I can decide to now print console.log. I will now print this num, right? Because this num, each time the item is gone through, the first item is assigned to this num, then the one will be printed. After this statement, that next method is now called, which we push the pointer to the next number, which is 2. 2 will now be assigned to this, and so on and so forth. If I print this, let me comment this one how to. So if I print, if I run this, you will see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 printed out on the screen. However, I cannot use for of just like that for what's it called? Smartphone. Let me even try it. If I put the smartphone there, Let me see what is going to print out. You can see the reason is simple. Is because the for of does not it does not know how to iterate through this object. So you need to kind of um how do I put it now? To create an helper class. So let me go into that now. So just know that you cannot use the for of for an object, but you can use it for what arrays. However, if you want to iterate over an object, right, you use the for in. So instead of this for of, instead of this for of, okay, I can use the for in. Let me just change it in place. I can say for, then in that. If I run this, you will see that the keys are printed out. The brand, the model, the storage, the camera printed out. So now that begs the next question. How do I now access this value? I will access the value using the object itself and the square brackets. Remember the square bracket. It is only this way that you can access the values. If I print it out, you will see Apple, iPhone 13, 128 GB, then the object is another object, nested object inside it. Is there any question? Is there any question?
So,
Joshua, are you ready for me to present? What?
but no, but I do, but you said that, I couldn't remember what you said about iterable and what it means.
Okay, you mean what I just treated here?
Yeah,
Okay, what did I say trouble is?
I think you said that iterable had a meaning.
What?
You said that iterable had a meaning.
Can you read what I typed here?
A collection of data whose item can be run through one another after another.
Okay, so do you understand that statement?
Uh, I do, but in the when you did a mistake in the program, I thought the meaning of the thing that you wrote down, I thought that,
You put it down.
no, I thought that, no, that you put down, I
Okay,
thought that
you
it
fault
had
it.
that. No, I didn't. No, I said that I, I didn't know what it meant when the program, when you made a mistake. So I thought that I never knew this was the meaning.
Oh, okay, but now you know what it means now.
You, I do.
You do. Are you sure? Do you want me to explain again?
Um, yes, please.
Okay. Now listen carefully. I said it's a collection. The first thing first is, do you understand this statement of data? When you say
Yes.
collection, it means that you can have different kind of data, and also you can have an object inside this array, right? This is a collection. So now whose item, see, one, this is how many items are there? One, two, three, four. Four items are inside this array. So the for of enables you to move through each of these items. It will help you to fetch the first item. We do whatever you want to do. Like in our case, we were just printing to the console. After printing and it gets to this, it will go to the next one. Assign this next one into the variable here. Then you print it out again. Once it gets here, it will go to the next one. That's how it will go one after the other through the content of the array. That is iteration. The process of going through is called iteration. And this object is called an iterable. Why is it called an iterable? Because you can go through each of the item one after the other. And I showed you an example. Let's say I have an array of 2, Josh, 5, and maybe an object again. Object of, say, name, the value of Shola. Now, let me assign. I can either assign it to a variable or I can just copy everything like this, just put it here. It's still an array, but this time it will be for rough, because for rough is used to iterate over an iterable. So if I run this, you will see, okay, I need to remove this one because it is it is not an object. So I'm printing each of the item out. You can see 2, Josh, 5, then the object itself. Is that clear now, Joshua?
Yes.
Good. But I cannot use for rough on object. If I want to move through an object, instead, I'm going to use the for ring. And I will loop through this object. And let me remove this array from here. Then I will loop through. Now, if I loop through and I print it out, you will see that the keys are printed out. But in case I want the values, so I'm going to use the smartphone object itself, then use the variable inside the bracket notation. Now, don't get yourself confused. If you remember earlier on, I was trying to do something like this, right? Brand. Then I wanted to print it out. In fact, this is a good example here now. Now, if I try to run this, I'm going to have an error here. That's the error. Why? It's simple. Because this brand is not a variable. But in this case, the norm is a variable. So inside this variable, I'm storing the first key, which is brand, into this variable, right? So the moment the pointer gets here, it will evaluate this one first. And once it evaluates this one, it will now fetch out the brand. Then after that, the model and so on and so forth, like that. So it's like this container variable is holding this value and now spitting it out like this. So eventually this variable we transform, we push out its content, which is the brand, into it. Then the brand will now be used to fetch the data. And that is how this, let me change this one back to the string. That is how this will now print out the values. But this one is not, and I have two here because this one is printing Apple first. Then the foreign is now printing again. This is where the foreign starts downward. But this first one is printed by this. If I remove this guy, comment it out, you will see a single apple printed out there, right? So is there any question now? Is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I want you to be ready to present in the next 5 minutes, Joshua. So I move on. So now we have different methods that we can use to fetch out the content of object. You can use the object of keys to fetch out all the keys. You can use the object of values to fetch out all the values. And you can use object dot entry. That will bring out the key value pair. See, to bring out the key value pair of that object. Let's quickly run through this. Let me comment this out. If I come here one more time and I say, I want you to bring out all the, what's it called, the keys. Bring out all the keys of smartphone. It will bring it out or bring them out. But if I run like this, nothing will come out because I'm not printing. So I'm going to use the console, the log, to print it out. So no, now you can see the keys, the model, the brand, model, storage, and camera, right? So what is happening is that this method is returning an array of the keys. If I change this to values, it will still be an array of the value this time around. So you can see it's an array of what? The values, right? Now, in case I want to print the key value pair, that is where the entries come into play. Entries bring out both the key and the keys and their respective values. Is there any question?
No, sir.
Okay. So I move on. I've also discussed this many times, right? Function. This is a function. Remember anonymous function. Yeah, right. So you can use that to create a method. Now, this object called calculator now has a method called the multiply. And if you call this, it will now do the calculation and return the multiplication of what? Both num1 and num2. This on the other hand is the addition. That will return what? The addition of num1 and num2. Is there any question on this? No question. Okay. So in the last class, I talked about encapsulation. Why do we use objects, right? So now, in the world of object-oriented programming, right, which we will try as much as possible not to repeat ourselves, in the sense that if I want to create variables about a person, I will name his first name, his or her second middle name, his or her last name, his age or her age, and so on and so forth. Now, we can just create an object that can do that for us. We can create in place easily the different kinds of person. Now, and why is it so important? It is important that because um, for for proper maintenance of your program, you can easily go in one place and change. Okay, let me quickly go to the board. Let's assume that I am creating an object called, let's call this one, call John. Now I will say first name, John, and I will say age, maybe 16, for example. Now I will go elsewhere again, create, what's it called? Create another person called, let me call this one Sean, and I will have Sean here. Then his age maybe 15, and so on. Now I'm creating different objects, right? So let's assume now, let's assume that I want maybe I've created like maybe 20 persons, then 20 different persons, right? And I just want now to add maybe last name, this last name, for example, to all the objects. So that means that I will need to go into 20 different places to make this change. God help you if you are not in a multinational company that they have 2,000 staff, 2,000 workers. So are you saying that you are going to create 2,000 of this? And if there's a single change, you now go and change in 2,000 different places, that is not maintainable. That is what we call maintenance, maintainability. And that is the reason why we have things like class, constructor, constructor function, so that you can have a blueprint, just one in place, where you can make that adjustment. And automatically that change will now be effected across the 2,000 objects. So the only thing is that, probably in their next login, you now prompt them, please enter your surname or last name, and the user will enter it. And so be it. So, makes it easy to maintain your code. So that is why objects, constructor function, classes, they are very important in when you talk of reusability. That's, you are talking about the method, the function, and so on. And even clarity, it makes your code, like I said, maintainable, brings clarity in your program. So please, I want you to develop the habit of um, writing a clean code. Writing a clean code. Now, how many of you? I know it was no. Okay, yes, I remember now. It was only David that did this assignment. Where is it? Mhm, Yes, this one. It was only David run. This assignment where I can input the name of a student 24 23 female, submit, enter another student, maybe John Doe, 18, male, maybe Josh, daylight, 26, male, maybe Jane, Bush, maybe 22, female. Let me stop there, submit. Then once I click report, I'm able to do a summary of the number of students registered, the number of males and number of female, and their average age. It was only David that submitted this assignment. Is there any other person who has done it after that time? Is a yes or no question.
So I haven't done that.
I cannot.
Yeah.
Can you speak louder, please, and clearly?
I haven't done
Okay, no. Okay. Feromi, and you?
No, sir.
Okay, Mary,
No, sir.
Ademola.
No, sir.
Okay. All right. So because of our time today, I'm going to stop right here. Right. So in our next class, we are going to treat that assignment. The reason is because I don't want everything to just be lecture, lecture, lecture. Right. Let us do some, because these assignments are meant to kind of what's it called, test your concept. But apparently you don't want to be tested, you want to try yourself, right? So, and it's not actually giving me that joy. So it's better I treat it so that you see the application of all the concepts we've been learning, because it is one thing for me to pass the concept to you, is another thing to be able to use that concept. It's just like somebody having so many ladders at home. He wants to climb a wall. Instead of just picking a single ladder and place against the wall, he started piling up, laying the ladder flat, piling the ladder because he has many, piling laying the ladder over over one another in order to climb a fence. So you can see that he has the tool, but he does not know how to use the tool. Do you understand now? So I want to make sure that you practice, or I practicalize the concept of these topics we've been treating. So now, Joshua, are you ready for me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm giving you control now. Let me stop recording first. Where is it?